Bomba-dee-da, 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 bomba-dee-da,
The intro to Happy
Hey,
Trails. Hey, Happy
hey,
Trails, everybody.
happy
Well,
trails, everybody. Welcome.
I'm glad you came and joined us for another podcast. We got another special guest. And first of all, we'll try to introduce ourselves. I'm Dr. Blaine McLaughlin from Robbins, Iowa. And my cohort here is,
I'm Arnold. No,
whatever you
I'm
wish.
Matt Bynum from Greenville, South Carolina, dentist for a long, long time, and actually coming to you today from Costa Rica. So been a long week. You know, sometimes we travel. That's what we do. So, but
Sometimes.
glad to be here. Take her away, Blaine. We got a good.
We got a special guest today. Everybody loves the guests. They're always fun. And we have Javier Moreno. He's been a friend of mine. How long have we known each other, Javi?
Maybe
What'd you say?
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, probably 6 or 7.
Yeah. Oh,
Something
yeah.
like
It was
that.
4 years. It was 4 years ago. I went on deployment, and you actually let me and my buddy take over your lake house the day before leaving for deployment because you're like, yeah, you guys can have it.
Yeah. Just
when
enjoy it.
When you're friends with Blaine, it just seems like only a few years. It's been multiple. I thought we were only been friends for 10 years, and it's been 30. So I mean,
yeah, and yeah, I didn't even spend time with my wife the day before deployment because Blaine was like, "You can have the lake house," and I was like, "All right."
Yep, fun. So we as you all know, we're multifamily real estate studs, gurus. Maybe some people would call us that. Maybe Matt would call me that. Maybe I'd call Matt that. Maybe nobody calls us that. But
no, nobody really calls us that. Let's be clear.
We're at least studying and learning about this stuff so we can invest and help our financial future. And we focus mostly on multifamily. But like I said, I met Javi several years ago, and he's he's one of those guys that we've always talked a little bit about real estate and this and that. And when he got back from the deployment, he's like, and he was telling me all what he's going to do. And he does a lot of single family flips and then rents them out. So many of you know that as the BRRRR method, BRRR. And so we're just here to see what Javi, why he got there, a little bit about him and why he chose this path and what his experiences have been. So welcome, Javi, and tell us a little bit about your history and how you got to where you are.
So, like Matt says, from South Carolina. I'm actually from South Carolina, and I moved to Iowa for just a change of life and for college. And then I went to school for marketing and finance. And my wife was a nurse, and I joined the National Guard while I was in the college to help pay for college. And when I graduated, I started working for U.S. Sailor and started working behind the desk or going to football games. And I just knew that there was something different that I wanted. I was like, man, I have to be here at 6 a.m. And it was just, it was a little pain. So I was like, I want to do something else. And all of a sudden, my National Guard unit said, hey, we are going and have a deployment coming. And actually, before the deployment, you actually talked. We were at the lake house one with Blaine, with you and Chris and Derek, and you were talking about just some real estate stuff and just how you were interested, and then how you had your one unit downtown in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, yep.
And I remember you were like, said something about Bennett Payne because whatever, it's in a apartment complex or something. And I was, I just heard a little bit about it. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happens, but once you talk about something, it just pops up on Facebook or it pops up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then it just started to get pushed in my face about freedom, or how you can change your family's life. And my family's poor. I grew up poor. I knew I didn't want to be poor. So then I just started. I'm not even a big reader, and I picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad out of nowhere. It was on Facebook, so I bought it on Amazon, read it, and it just blew my mind away. I'm like, this guy, had nothing, and so he made something from there was two different mindsets from his dad, who was a doctor, and his buddy's dad, who didn't even graduate high school, who started a business and got into real estate. And so that's how I kind of, because I'm not that smart, like, and then so I was like, I can do this. If this guy can do this, I didn't graduate, I can do this, and I can change my path for what I want for my kids and my family.
Yeah, that's awesome. We talk a lot about Rich Dad Poor Dad on the podcast, and I think you've listened to some of this, of course. I'm sure you have. If not, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yes, it's a requirement to be on the show. You have to at least watch one episode. Javier,
Yeah, geez,
okay?
man.
Oh
But-
yeah, we watch.
But we've talked a lot about Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's a big starter for a lot of people. And it's just, the book is so, I think it just relates to so many people in so many different areas. It just, people just grasp onto that, and you know, I mean, even you talk about being smart. Well, there's different kinds of smart. There's school smart, which is what our society thinks we should be, and that's the ability to memorize stuff and spit it back out later. I mean, is it smart? Well, maybe. I mean, memorizing this is some, but there's also a lot of other things that our society really doesn't get into that I think is important, and that's, you know, that's your drive and what inspires you, and where you're, you know, in your mindset, where you're going with that stuff. And so that's and I've always been impressed with you, Javi, because you've always had some sort of internal drive, and I can always see you going, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And I always admire that about you. So so now you're doing did you get into this like by yourself? Did you start doing this by yourself, or how'd you get involved in all your fix and flip and rent stuff?
So in college, so I wrestled in college, and my father-in-law, now my father-in-law, but I was dating his daughter, he owned a construction company, and it was a smaller company. And so he was an older man, so he would sub out all the hard stuff, like digging the holes for egress windows, framing walls, tearing up drywall. And so when I met him in person, and we were just got to talking, and he was like, "Hey man, would you like to come help out one day? I'm needing some help this weekend." And so I actually came out and helped him tear up some walls. And then that same day, he asked me, he said, "Hey man, I got 3 egress windows." And it was like October, November, starting to get cold. And so he said, "Hey man, I will give you $300 to dig these holes, each hole, and then I give you $300." And so what I did was went back to my wrestling team and got 2 buddies and paid them at the time $15 an hour. And we
Isn't
got
that
each hole
great?
dug in 3 hours.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. I mean, that's just, again, that's kind of the mindset that I think is so, makes us so beneficial and so powerful.
Man, that's what
Frickin-
works. That's called capitalism, my friend, at its finest. You just learned how to use capitalism to dig a hole and make more money than if you did
Right.
it yourself.
Yep. And we
Yeah.
talked,
That's awesome.
again, we talked about that too. We talked about leveraging people and that are experts or good in some areas. And that's exactly what you did, Javi. You said, "Hey, I got some other guys. I mean, obviously you guys are all very physically fit and active and stuff. And so you're like, hey, I could do this, and these guys, they're going to benefit from it. And so am I."
Yeah,
They
that's something that, you know, Avi, that you look at that situation and you say, gosh, you know what? Other people can hear this story now and go, damn, Javier screwed his friends over. But his friends made $15 an hour, which is more than you're going to make any other time, to go in and do some labor, which they were happy to go do. They were happy to make money. You just are the ones that were pulling the strings, man. And that just means you're smarter in that category than others. And that doesn't make you a bad person. That makes you smart.
Yes, they were happy as hell, because a college student, you really don't want a full-time job.
No, you want beer money.
You want to experience the college. You
especially
you may
if
have a
you're
job
an
if you
athlete.
want some play money, but if you got opportunities to do something on the weekend, or if you got an extra few hours and you can do some type of work, you're gonna take it, because you're like, man, I can go make $75-$100 today, and I'm with my buddies hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing better than that. That's a good time, and you make some money. So then you got money for beer and stuff later together. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Javi doesn't drink beer. Well,
No.
once in a while. I'm
I
not sure
wouldn't
what he
think
did.
so.
I'm not sure what he was doing last night.
Yeah.
Nobody drinks beer that's friends with Blaine.
Hey, come on. You don't want me to edit that out, Matt. Come on. We're
No,
not.
we're not talking about that anyway.
We're not talking about that.
So that's how you got started, Javier. You got started. You met your future father-in-law. He said, "Hey, do you want to make some cash doing this?" You got some buddies, but so how'd you decide that through the process of that you made some money? But where did the light turn on? You go, you know something? I think I could start flipping houses. Like, tell me how you flip into that.
The light turned on because Dennis, my father-in-law, I started after college, and I started working with him a lot more, and he started teaching me flooring, some electrical, some plumbing. By trade, he went to Bible college out in Purdue, and he worked for a plumber for a very long time. So he does a lot of plumbing. So he started teaching me how to do some of these things, and I knew nothing. I didn't do any construction growing up. I did roofing, but that's like every other Hispanic guy. So I started to work with him, and it was 2019. We were working on the church addition out in Roland, Iowa, and we tore out all this concrete. We did a large church addition. There was masonry work. We put new mini splits in, new windows, new stairways, everything. And I sat here, and it was cold as shit. And I was like, why the heck is Dennis doing this and he doesn't have rental properties? I said, this guy, in his brain, he knows everything about, when it comes to remodeling. And so I asked I sat with him, and I remember sitting in the truck, we're having lunch, and I said, why aren't you a millionaire? Or why don't you have rentals? Why are you working? You got to constantly find work, Yeah. And I know he was always taking care of a lot of kids. His ex-wife at the time was taking care of her kids, and he was always doing stuff for other people. And I saw how generous this guy was, and I'm like, why aren't you doing this? And then he told me, he said he never had the opportunity to have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of just straight cash to do something. And so that's what really hit me. I'm like, dude, I'm good at talking to people. I'm very, very frugal and cheap, just because I live by 2 words: delay gratification. I'm like,
No.
I can get the money. I know I can get the funds, and this guy has the brain. All we got to do is put it together. I don't know how we're going to put it together, but that's all we got to do. We just got to figure that part out.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And that's that's another thing we talk about a lot is Dennis is trading time for money, right? And that's what he was doing for all these years.
For a long time.
You put your time in, you get paid for it. And that's what Matt and I do in the dental practice. And that's the main reason, I guess, we decide, hey, we got to get some passive cash flow or something going on here, so the money comes in without us having to actually be on site. And that it totally inspired us, and that's exactly what was going through your head. I mean, it's like, wait a minute. And I love hearing that. That's great.
Yeah, that was a big question. Like, I was like, I don't know how we're going to do it, but that's my only question. Like, that's the only answer that I need once we figure out how to do it. But that question was a lot harder in the beginning to answer.
Yeah.
So fast forward, here we are today. How many current homes do you have that you're renting or flipping, or have you done or whatnot?
So right now we have Ames, Jewel, we have 4 in Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, and then in Roland we have a commercial building that we were transferring over to. It has an apartment in the back already, and we're 3 townhomes on it. It was an old bank building that Dennis got for $1. And so now,
that's
and a chicken,
a chicken,
and a pig,
and it was frozen water pipes too. I remember that day. We went in there and we took over it, got the water turned on, and there's water spraying everywhere. And so it was freezing, and we were in there with our pecs and clamping all the waters together. So probably 2 hours later, we had all the water fixed.
That's the project. You've sent me a bunch of videos on that, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're looking at that going, what the hell are you doing, man? I mean, this place is
I smell
some
money.
major work. Yeah. And Javi's like, oh, I smell money. And our other buddy's like, I smell like death and destruction.
God.
But again, that's a great point of view, is everybody sees things from a little different perspective. And you know what you guys are capable of. And I mean, and you can see those things. And I don't, I've seen some of the places that you've renovated, and you've done a hell of a nice job. I mean, they look really, really good. And the rent you're getting out of them and the money you got into them, it's pretty impressive. So
Yeah, so going back to when you asked me how it kind of got started. So then once I started to ask myself this question in 2019, deployment comes up, and my wife had just became a nurse, and so I said, you know what? I'm going to go on deployment. It's all tax-free money, so I was making, $45,000 all tax-free, and my wife was making 40 grand at the time. And I said, we are going to save every single dollar. I said, Emily, I promise you give me 5 years, you give me my deployment in 5 years, and I will take care of us. We won't live like how our family lived, where you're struggling, you're worrying about if you can take your kids out to go out to somewhere nice to eat or get ice cream. I said, hey, I'm going to go on deployment, and I will not spend $1. I promise you. I ate all the free MREs, ate all the free stuff. And I
saw
told
you
Dennis,
at Applebee's, bro.
no,
Weren't you at Applebee's once in a while?
They had an Applebee's where we were at, but it was shut down.
Oh.
So I always took a picture. I was like, wow, that would be nice. So I told Dennis, I said, hey, Dennis, right before I left with him, I said, hey, I'm going to save every dollar. But what I want in return is when I come back, me and you, we come to agreement. We start an LLC, but for the next 5 years, your only job is to give me everything you know in your brain on how. I don't need to actually know how to do everything personally, but I need to know how it looks. So as it's getting done, if it looks like crap, I can tell the subcontractor, hey, we need to fix this. And
Yeah.
so I said, for the next 5 years after 2020, your only job, because he's almost 60. I said, your only job is to give me all your brain knowledge from this 30 years of construction, and in return, I will take care of you the rest of your life. You will not have to worry about bills, because he was a pastor, so he didn't make a lot of money, and he was just living paycheck to paycheck with construction. So I said, I will make that promise to you. I would take care of you. You won't have to worry about any bills. I said, you just give me your knowledge, and the rest, he's been able to go to Mexico a couple times, and he's on another trip, and I can see it coming to truth that I'm able to give the man that was so generous to everyone else. I'm able to say, hey, you know what, Dennis, now is your turn to relax. Let me take over.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. So you're halfway through this, right? I mean,
yeah,
your 5-year program, or your 5-year process that you talked about, you're about halfway in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, are you on trajectory to get where you want to be? Or
I think on the learning part of looking at something and seeing if it's jacked up or not, I think we're above schedule, because as you saw some of the properties we've done, most of my properties were meth houses. Because that's what I could afford.
Yeah,
they were like Big Red in Cedar Rapids, 1,800 square feet. There was heroin needles everywhere. It was 5 dumpsters full of trash. But that's what we can afford. I can afford to get into $100,000 house and to have the rehab, because at the time I had no bank behind me.
Yeah. So you're in a handful of homes now, like I said, 8, 10 maybe, or something like that you talked about. Moving forward, are you going to just continue to grow this, or do you have other goals?
Yes. So earlier this year, we had a big problem. You hear everybody say, pay little as much as you can in taxes, do all your deductions, do all these things. So you go and do all that, but not knowing that when I go try to get a loan with the bank, they look at me and say, well, sir, your income is so little, you ain't got, you're not worth shit.
Because you've written it all off. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No,
that's a
no,
problem. Yeah.
nobody said anything. That everybody said, oh, write everything off, don't pay no
Yeah.
taxes. And then the moment I go into a dang bank, I go to 3, they're all like, no, sir, you know, we can't help you. We can't help you. We can't help you. And I'm like, why? And they all say, well, your income's just so low. I'm like, no, I made good income, made really good income. No, you didn't really make
Yeah.
a good income because you wrote everything off.
Yeah. That's interesting. So yeah, I mean, so again, moving forward, are you gonna we talk about multifamily apartments, and one reason we got into it is because of the scalability, where we can have, you know, as you said, we leverage people to work for us and under us to make this whole process work. And we do that in our dental practice every day. But we can manage or run hundreds of apartment buildings or units at a time, units or maybe buildings, Matt.
Yeah, coming up. Yeah,
let's
a
go.
few, yeah, coming up.
And so,
let's go now.
Let's go now. And oh man, that's funny stuff. Anyway, for us at least.
Yeah, for us.
Anyway, so but at your point, in one of the things that we always hear about, everybody's like, got to do multifamily because you can scale it. You can do hundreds and hundreds of places. Single family people, they get restricted. I mean, you can manage 10. I don't know. You have managing companies or repair companies who does all your maintenance and that kind of stuff. And eventually you'll probably get to the point where you can't handle it all, right?
Yeah.
So where are you at on that? I mean, are you doing all the maintenance? And
so we hired on another guy to come work with us full time, and he lives out in Cedar Rapids, and so he's basically managing. And then if there's maintenance, whatever, we haven't had any maintenance because we do kind of a full remodel.
Yeah, everything's
so right now
shape.
In the beginning, there's not really anything. There's a little things where when you're trying to get your rental certificate, and then they come back and give you a little list of like, hey, you need to add this.
Yeah.
And so those are those little things. But our buddy that lives out in Cedar Rapids is doing those, and we're doing Ames and Des Moines kind of. And yeah, once we get to that, 30-40 mark that we own, we're going to have to ask that question. Hey, what do we want to do? Do we want to go out and maybe find some kids that are in college that are doing construction, a construction degree, and say, hey, we're starting a property management company and we want to hire on 2 kids, and because if they're in school learning about construction, or do we want to just sub it out and say, hey, we're going to hire a property manager and give them 10 to 15% of our rent for them to take care of it.
Right. Yeah. Yep. There's different options there, but I mean that's one of the obstacles that we always hear about with single family renters, is that they get to a point where they just like, I can't go much further because it's starting to take too much of my time. I've created a lot of another job for myself by doing all this, and there's good passive income and it's working well, but I can't go any further. And so I guess that's one of the things, like I said, we hear a lot about in multifamily that you can get by a little easier with, because it's scalability's there.
Yeah.
So Javier, have you found that, like, right now, you by the calculation that you gave, you got something like 8 homes in a commercial building? Is that right?
Yeah, something around there.
Okay, so you got,
we have a plot of land that we're about to build on.
Okay, so you got 8 pieces of property. You've rehabbed those 8, or you're in the process of rehabbing the 8?
All of them are rehab besides 2 of them.
Cool.
Besides the bank?
Yeah. Well, so you're renting these things out right now currently, right? You've rehabbed them and now you're renting. Okay, so is the goal for you to, like Blaine says, the goal for you to have 30 of these things and then make a decision of what you're going to do? Or are you going to flip some and sell some when you need extra cash? Or what's the goal for you?
So I do the bird method right now. Buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. The point was to how can we get more cash to do things. I would love to get into some multifamily, but I'm still doing all of my homes with the same quote unquote money that I started with, because all I'm doing is refinancing it, taking it back, and then using it again. But when we refinance, we're actually pulling out more than what we put in. So the cash is growing a little bit more and more, a little bit, and it's all tax free because it's all loan proceeds. It isn't earned income, and so we're able. So like early next year, or hopefully, but it might be too cold, we're gonna do a brand new build, and we're gonna see, is this worth selling or is this worth renting out? And so we just don't we would have to see what the numbers are once because we're not going to do a lot of the work. We're actually going to hire a big chunk of it out.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of what I was getting to. Is I wanted you to get into a little bit of the buy, renovate, refinance, repeat. So you're going to keep cycling this because it's just moving money from one house to the next, which is tax free. Which, by the way, that's why it looks like your income is shit, because you're paying minimal tax. You're not making money, right? But you're growing your portfolio. Now you've got 8-10 units, and the goal is to get to something like 30. And then when you've got 30, now all of a sudden you've got cash flow that's coming in at a pretty high rate from your rentals. Yeah. You'll be able to go and borrow even more than what you want. At that point, the goal is going to be what?
Maybe fucking sell everything and buy a 100-unit apartment.
There you go. See, but your mind right now is just going, gosh, I could go probably 3, 4, 5 different ways, right? And that's the great thing about what you've done, is you've created something for yourself and your family that's going to allow you to be at home and generate income at the same time. And you've got choices. Yeah. Whereas if you're working in a job, most of the people that we met and most of the stuff that we do, we're stuck, man. We're in the job to make money. We got to sacrifice the time and energy and effort just so we can make that money. So that's the great thing of why we started Happy Trails and why we jumped into multifamily. And multifamily for us has been kind of expanding, as we learn more, we grow more, and we talk to people like you that's doing things on the edge of different than what we're doing with apartments, but still similar. Yeah.
So like you guys do apartments and stuff, and I believe it's called syndication, right?
Yep.
And when I look into it, so one of the things that is a con, like a pro and con. A con for me for syndication is your money is stuck there. If you're not on the management team, you have no control about what to do with your money.
Exactly.
So
that's true.
I know you guys have, most of them, you guys have like a 5-year plan, and 5 years you're going to sell, or 7 years. But it's when you syndicate and put your $50,000 to $100,000 and now it's stuck in there, do you also pay, a management fee to the people that are running the whole show, kind of? Like, because you're just a passive investor, or you can be part of the team. And so for me in the beginning, that's not an option for me, because I'm like, I can't put up and I can't put up, I don't want my money to be stuck in this one project when I think I could gather a lot of units, and now we own these units, or if we have investors, we own these units instead of having 20, 30, 40 people.
Yeah. That is one of the downsides of multifamily, is if you're an LP, your money goes in, and we talked about this. It's not very liquid, right? I mean, you're like, hey, I need to get this out because of whatever, and it's like, nope, you can't do it until the thing either refinances or sells, and then you get your cash back, and hopefully the return is pretty darn good at that time. But it's kind of stuck in there, and so that we discussed that too. You got a little more freedom doing what you're doing, one of the benefits. But if you are a general partner in those, as opposed to a limited partner, you do get some. The LPs don't actually pay in a management fee, but the apartment complex itself, as it collects the rents and all the income, part of that does go to the GP team to help them run it, and so they do get some money on the side, and which is one of the things we're headed towards. That's where we're trying to get to, is do something like that. So helps. Yeah,
I can share with you just the fact that in being involved in the community that we have for a couple of years, met a lot of people like you, Javier, who have they've gone the single family route. Next thing you know, they've got 30, 40 homes, and they're like, man, I'm hiring my own management team, or I'm managing these houses myself, because this is what my husband and I do. and I don't want to do that anymore. I kind of know
Yeah.
how this game works. Why don't I do this game at a higher scale so I can contract the whole thing up here and not have 30 units, but now I've got 250 units, doors that I'm working with. I'll go in and renovate and do all those things, and you're flipping at a different level. And that's what a lot of people I've met like you that have done that. But what you're doing right now is just creating the knowledge and the information that you need. So you could do that. You could run into the commercial game. You can run into the whatever you want. You know, like you said, you've got a commercial property. You're going to build an area of maybe townhomes or something. That's, I mean, you got a lot of versatility on your hands right now, which is amazing. And you're developing the skill set to be able to do that. So I commend you for that. It's a great job.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, a lot of learning. And again, in the beginning, all my houses they were all craps. Like you'll walk in and see cats and rats and heroin and then I sent a picture to Blaine down and I was like, what, do you guys smell that? And then they were, Chris and Derek, and they'd be like, oh fuck, you need to burn that down. I'm like, nah, this smells like money, man.
Smells like money. That could be a t-shirt. Cats, rats, and heroin equals money.
Smells like money.
Smells like money to me.
Hey, if you're me, you buy this, all you got to do, and I do this all the time. I walk down the street and I see people walking and I'm like, hey, you want to make some money? I'm paying you 15 to $20 an hour. It's 8 hours guarantee, whether it takes 5 or 6 hours, and I'm buying food, but we got to demo this place. And I can always find 3 to 5 people that want to help. And we get a demo in one day. I spent, $600-700, but this place is cleared out and it's ready to go.
That's cool.
Oh, nice. Awesome, man. All right. Well, I think that was a great interview. I think I don't have anything else. Matt, are you good?
I'm good. Javi, do you want to leave us with one little tip that you'd want to share with anybody that might be thinking, hey, I'm tired of being on the rat race, tired of being on that hamster wheel. And this is an opportunity. If you've ever thought about it, you got a nugget you want to give somebody today before you finish? I
would say if you are in a situation where your family is well off already, these 2 words are great. I live by, and my wife knows it. We live by delayed gratification. And I would say pick up a book. Even if you're not a reader, pick up something in real estate. Not just something I say, oh, you could jump right into, apartment buildings. Pick up something realistic that can track to you. If you got a little bit of cash or you're handy or something like that, pick up something in that realm and just have an open mind of saying, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone and I want to try this. Because look, if it all goes to shit and you lose the house or whatever, you still got 2 hands to go back to work and do something else.
And you got your brain. You got your head, right?
But if you're consistent, it will work out. And I tell my buddy all the time, say, hey, it's going to work out. And he's like, dude, last week he just told me, said, you say it so much, I'm starting to believe you. And now he wants to join.
Nice.
And now he wants to join. And I said, dude, it's going to work. I don't care. It will work.
Love it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Love the tenacity and the drive, my friend. You're doing some great stuff, and I've enjoyed talking with you the last few minutes, and keep going at it, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Look forward to meeting you someday.
Yes, sir. You guys have a good day.
All right, take care, bro.
Bye.
God bless.
Hey, what a great job. Before we finish out, amazing. What a great interview for somebody that's doing something a little different. It's kind of off the nature of our beaten path that we present to you guys every week. But man, you want to talk about tenacity and drive and everything else, man. Javier's got a little different incentive behind him, and I love it.
Yeah, and he didn't mention it, but he's got a baby here coming in about a month. So his family's going to expand, and I know he's been working his butt off to get to the point where again they can live comfortably and he can take care of them. So
even more incentive.
That's awesome.
Well, guys, hey, what a great few minutes we've spent together, 40 minutes or so, and just again want to thank everybody for jumping on the call. And hey, remember, like and share. We're starting to gain some traction and some speed and momentum, and people are starting to comment even more and more. So just share the wealth, share it with your friends, and happy trails.
Happy trails, everybody. We'll catch you later.
That's it. See you on the flip.
Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song.